Hey, good morning / afternoon, gamers. Welcome into the Gamers Roast podcast.
Sorry,
I'm
that
your
makes me
host.
laugh every single week, and then it's never not going to make me laugh.
Hey, for people watching later this morning, for people watching right now, it's night. That's just
Yeah.
what it is. Well, unless you're on the West Coast, then it's like 3 p.m. But
Then it's
no,
yeah.
4?
Then it's
4 p.m.
it's like 4:30. Wait,
Huh?
no, they're
Yeah.
4 hours behind us, so it would be like 3 p.m. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because that one time we had
Anyway.
Josh Garcia on, we had to wait till like 8 p.m. for him to get on. And I was like, my dude, I still have to edit
Yeah.
this thing tonight.
But anyway, welcome in everybody. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of this show. I'm your host, Joshua J. Wesley Lance alongside me.
Laughing at Josh as usual. I do that a lot.
Yeah, well, I screw up a lot, so it is what it is.
Not as bad as when we were in the studio. When we had to start over like 4 or 5 times.
Well, that's just because like we wanted it to be perfect. Where right now we can't
Yeah.
restart because it's all live, so
We have
you get
no
what you get.
illusions of perfection.
Right. It's just first take all the way, So we got an exciting show for you guys, though. We got some games we want to talk about, including some Kingdom Hearts and some Sony and Lego news. So excited about that. But also we have a person we're going to be interviewing after we do the coffee of the week, and he's going to be coming on to talk about kind of his roastery and how he got into all that and everything like that. So without further ado, though, let's try this coffee. There's only 2 left in the store. And so I picked it up because obviously if there's 2 left, that means it's selling. I hope. That's
I pointed out to Josh that this is the third vanilla like espresso beverage we've tried on the show. Oh, I'm mirrored.
Look,
1 second.
I like vanilla. Okay.
I guess so. I'm gonna unmirror myself real quick. Sorry, everybody, if I freaked out and flipped my TV on you. Yeah, so this is Private Selection Vanilla Espresso Beverage. 2 shots of premium espresso blended with milk and sugar.
But
So you know
also
what?
part of it.
On the bright side, we're going to be able to honestly compare this with all of the other vanilla espresso drinks that we've tried because we've been trying a lot of them.
Also, I just haven't had time to go get a really worthwhile bean coffee lately.
I know. I feel like we've both been kind of crazy.
Yeah. So with the whole move and everything getting ready to happen, all that fun stuff, new job, all that coming on down the pipeline, it's kind of a little bit of a crazy time.
I don't know that you've mentioned that on the podcast yet, but yes, you are moving.
Probably not.
Which was part of the
reason.
reason.
A new job, doing a bunch.
Which is part of the reason that we started experimenting with online because you weren't going to be able to come into the studio for very much longer. So we're like, well, might as well figure it out while we can.
Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a coffee can. Coffee in a can is as good as
coffee in a can.
It's like it's not the best, but it's hopefully it's not the worst, but we'll find out.
Honestly, it has a refreshingly low amount of sugar. Like it still has a lot of sugar. It's got 16 grams of sugar, but the can is huge.
Yeah,
so like that's got less sugar than soda.
True,
but I'm excited to try it. Let's give it a shot here.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's definitely different than any other.
Weird, yeah.
Like it started out the same, but there's an aftertaste to it that's totally different than any other canned coffee.
It's whatever espresso they use actually comes through really well.
Impressively well. I mean, Starbucks has a canned coffee with the triple shot, and it just doesn't taste like this. Like this tastes like coffee. Like it doesn't taste like a weirdly manufactured milk.
I mean, it still tastes a little manufactured, but
right. But you definitely get actual like real coffee to it. So that's impressive.
No, that's pretty good. 1 second, I'm pulling it up. I'll pull it up.
Oh yeah, yep. Get up the chart.
Alrighty. Watch, we're gonna put this right around everything else.
I mean, we have so many though. We have so many coffees.
Boy, oh boy. Man, we gotta stop doing 7.5.
But we can't put it at an 8. Like it's just
it's not an 8.
Most coffees fall in that 7 to 7.5 range. They do.
They do.
It's really difficult to put like there's just a lot of average coffees out there. In order to stand out, you have to do something crazy. What's up, Robert? Welcome to the chat. 7.8 ? Yeah, that's actually a pretty good. I mean, you guys are pretty good for guessing without actually tasting, because that's actually a pretty good guess.
Yeah, that's about where I would have to put it. I'm gonna put it right down here. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm a very indecisive person.
Yeah, I put it. What's at the top of my 7.5 list?
You got the Blue Lion coffee roaster. Under that is the Bailey's.
Oh. Put it below the Baileys. I like the Baileys
Low
better.
the Bailey. See, I didn't like the Baileys. The Baileys tasted weird.
So I guess I'd say it'd be more like a 7.6, Robert.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to
Yeah,
we're
below
gonna
the
have to
Baileys. Below the Baileys.
below the Baileys.
Yep.
All right. Well, so that's
For me.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna put it. I put it above the Key2. I don't know.
It's so hard. I know there's so many basic
It's
coffees out
definitely
there.
no. Hold it. I put it above the Black Rifle, and that's not true. The Black
Oh
Rifle
my
coffee is
gosh,
good
no.
stuff. I gotta put that. I gotta put that above that. But anyway, sorry, we're gonna spend a lot of time deciding where on our 7 that we want to put this coffee. Dude, we gotta get something either really good or really bad next week. I'm tired of the 7.
I
Maybe
am too, but
I
you
need to go
never
back to Aldi.
know.
I need to go back to Aldi.
No, go with the better. Don't go worse. Don't go
I need to
let's
do it.
get above the 7. Like we haven't really hit that top tier yet. We
I need
tried
to look into.
$400 coffee
Yeah, we
and we
did.
didn't hit the super top yet. Like I want to get a 10. We need a 10 on the
You
show.
want to spend the money to get a 10?
Uh, maybe. I
Exactly.
mean, we'll
Yeah.
see if this new job does something good, then yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's a great
Maybe if
idea.
Robert or Daniel down here in the chat will throw us a
Donate
few
us
bones.
$200 and we'll go find the best
donate
coffee we can get.
donate us $1,000, Robert. Come on, Robbie. I know you got that.
He did make me a payment request the other day for 10 grand just as a joke. And I was like, my dude, I thought he got hacked.
Oh,
I was like,
Robert.
all right, I guess he got hacked because that's not normal.
Gosh.
And no, he was just trying to get my attention.
He said, dude.
But it was a
um,
joke.
but anyway, so all right, that's the coffee. That's coffee of the week. But yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry,
getting
Robert.
ready to
No, it
that
wasn't.
was private. What did you need the 10
It's-
grand for, Robert? But anyway, we're getting ready to introduce someone to you. His name's David, and we're super excited to bring him on and to talk about some of the stuff that he's done with roasting and all of that.
yeah.
So,
So,
without further ado, let's pop him on here real quick.
hi, David.
Hey, how you doing, David?
So if I
So,
would have, I'd have shaved.
yeah, I
I
know.
think it looks good.
Yeah. So, David, you're the owner of Blue Lion, which we tried 2 weeks ago, I think. It was a while back. We tried
Yeah.
because I met you at the Kalamazoo Living History show.
Yeah.
Was not expecting to find a coffee roaster there. I saw all the stuff that I was expecting, like weapons, replicas, and that sort of thing. Not expecting to find coffee.
Well, coffee goes back a long ways, and coffee
Well, that's
was
true.
evolution. So
Yeah.
Right.
So, what kind of we kind of talked a little bit before the show, but what kind of inspired you to start roasting your own coffee?
Well, when I started approximately 20 odd years ago to open a coffee house, and I'd spent time in Europe. Well, initially I lived in San Francisco in the late 60s, early 70s. There was an Italian roaster, one of those old cast iron roasters down about 2 blocks from my apartment. That was my initiation into good coffee. Then moving back to Indiana, it was kind of a lost, and I'll just try to make a longer story short. Anyhow, there was a gap of approximately 20 years, and I was just getting coffees wherever I could. And then I had gotten married, and my wife and I decided that we wanted to start a business. And she said, "What have you always wanted to do?" And I said, "A coffee house." And so we started the coffee house. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that we had the very best of everything. We hired a European trained pastry chef because we wanted a European style coffee house, not just another go in there and get bagged biscotti kind of places.
Right.
So we had just extraordinary desserts, but the coffee. So I went to Coffee Fest, tried all the different coffees that were there. I picked out a coffee roaster that I really liked, and I will just say at that time it was Terra Frazzoni. But Terra Frazzoni at that time only did blends. They did no varietals, and I wanted varietals. In other words, I wanted to be a Colombian or a Kenyan or something, and they didn't carry it at
Gotcha.
that time. And so I went to Seattle's Best was my second choice at that time, and it turned out that Seattle's Best, their master roaster, his father was the master roaster for Terra Frazzoni. So they had these similar taste profiles. And anyhow, so I got coffee from them for 2 years, and then I decided I wanted to roast my own so I could have it right there in the shop. And so I'd met some guys at Coffee Fest again, bought a roaster, and started roasting coffee. And it was just, there was flavor profiles that I wanted to achieve, and I also wanted to make sure, I always told my customers, you get the very best. This way, there was no time lapse between when the coffee was roasted. In other words, when I ordered coffee, I didn't know when it had been roasted. Where if I did my own roasting, I could say, I roasted this afternoon, I roasted this yesterday. And you have that roughly 2 to 6 week window of where you want to get the very best of your flavor in your coffee when it's roasted. So when a customer came in, they could buy coffee. Sometimes they were waiting on the roast to be done, and they would take the coffee that was roasted while they waited. And I had some customers I actually did that for. I might be out of their coffee that they liked, and so I would roast what they liked. They would sit around and wait. So that was kind of how this whole thing came about. And anyhow, so I was able to experiment all the time and try different things, and I learned a lot about coffees. Essentially, like after about 2 years or so of roasting, I had an opportunity. They wanted me to come to a morning Optimist. It's like a club, a service club, and they wanted me to talk for 15 minutes about coffee. And I'm trying to think, what could I say about coffee for 15 minutes? I had a group of senior citizens come in, and I had groups come in all the time, and I would, they would come in, and I thought, well, I'll practice on this group of senior citizens. For one thing, they're there, they came by bus, they can't go anywhere until the bus comes and picks them up. So I have a trapped audience. So they were there at 1:00, and at 4:00 they said, Dave, we have to go. And I said, but I'm not done yet. So I talked for 3 hours straight about coffee. But I was giving them every history of coffee, how it's decaffeinated, all the different processes, the different types of coffees. And so I can be a bit wordy sometimes, so I'll try not to do that. We'll get right to points. And I will say, I was watching the earlier part of your podcast. Now, I haven't seen your podcast before, so I'm going to have to start watching it on a regular basis. And
hey, sounds good.
But one of the things is that you were talking about, what is the best coffee? Where is number 10 at? And number 10, there can be a whole bunch of things that come into play for number 10. And I will tell you that it's, you have to rely sometimes on your green bean broker that supplies you coffees. He's going to tell you what's going on, what's really good. He's cupping this coffee all the time. And so I remember one time we had a group that came in, and they brought some Jamaican Blue Mountain. And I'd had Jamaican Blue Mountain before, and it's good coffee. There's no denying that. But they brought this in, and somebody had picked it up while they were in Jamaica, and they were so excited, and they want to know if they could brew up this coffee that they brought. And I said, sure, I don't care. So I brewed this up. Terrible stuff. It was terrible. So just because of a name doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good.
Right.
It's all in the taste. Everything is in the taste, and the name has nothing really to do with it other than it can give you some taste profiles. One of the very best coffees I ever had was actually a Haitian coffee that some guy had brought in. And I tell people when they travel, because I have people from all over the world come in, and when they travel, I said, bring back green beans. Don't buy roasted beans, buy green ones. Come back, I'll roast them for you and we'll try them. And he brought back terrible looking stuff. I mean, it's some of the worst looking coffee. We sorted through it because I didn't want to run it through the roaster till we cleaned it some. And I got like a handful of rocks out of it, twigs and stuff. We roasted it. Fabulous coffee, though. It was some of the very best. As far as just a flat out coffee that I think consistently is best is Kona Extra Prime. And that's always been a really good coffee. I've never been disappointed in Kona Extra Prime, but you pay for it. And kind of the other end of the spectrum a little bit in cost wise. And this is where you rely on your green bean broker sometimes can tell you things about coffees. And I remember one time I bought some Nicaraguan coffee. And this bag, and at that time, Nicaraguan coffee was supply demand. So it wasn't that expensive in buying what I was buying of coffee and into that medium price range. But in that particular year, this was judged some of the very best coffee that ever came out, and it was wonderful stuff. So each bag can be different. You'll have taste profiles that will be consistent. Kenyans way and Ethiopians will blueberries, and Guatemalan you're going to pick up chocolate notes and so on and so forth, and it depends on which farm that they're from. So you have all these different to play. So when you're looking at when you're looking for that number 10, and here's the other thing: when people would come in to the coffee house, and I would tell them, when you're out there traveling and you want to find out how good a coffee house is, order a straight shot of espresso, because everything else is milk and sugar and chocolate, but the straight shot of espresso, that's your base. Flavored coffees, like when I do my flavored coffees, I use a really good base in my coffee, and so that there's that resonance, the aftertaste of the coffee. And you were saying something about that when you were tasting that coffee. What's your aftertaste? It should be good. It should be it shouldn't be bitter. Right. And so those are all the things that come into play. Anytime you get anything in a can or a bottle or something, there's going to be some preservatives. They add some other stuff in there. That's why I make all my own bottled coffees. Is all my coffee or shots of espresso, and I'll put them in the refrigerator. So I know that what is in there is really just coffee and milk or whatever else, cream or whatever I want to put in there. I'm not opposed to adding some bourbon or Bailey's Irish cream to my coffee. Put it in the refrigerator, pour it over ice. I mean, it's hard to beat. It is hard to beat.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, that leads into a good listener question. Daniel was asking, what's your favorite coffee, your brew style, flavor, kind of roast style?
Yeah, it's like you personal as a drinker.
Right.
That part of that depends upon the time of day, really. And it depends upon the coffee and when I'm roasting, because I'm trying my coffees all the time. And one of the things, I'm getting my coffees right out of the roaster. Now, it's better if you can let them set and breathe for 2 or 3 days, like a good bottle of wine. Well, you want to let wine sit for 3 days. The coffee when I would do coffee tastings, then I would do a series of 4 tastings, 2 coffees at each tasting. And one of the tastings would be, and I would set 2 coffees down there, and I'd say, tell me which one you like better of these 2 coffees. And I always knew which one they were going to like better 95% of the time. And what that is one coffee had been roasted 3 days ago. One coffee had been roasted about 3 hours ago. I'd roast that in the afternoon. The same coffee. The coffee that was 3 days old had a chance to breathe. And it had a much more developed flavor to it, where that coffee that was just out of the roaster tasted young, and it hadn't had a chance to come into its own. And so that's one of the things there. And then what coffees are you throwing into the blend at that time? What time of day it is. I mean, a good espresso that's been brewed properly, not as a shot of espresso, although I usually have a shot of espresso in the afternoon. It's just there's just a taste that I love in a good espresso. And it takes a while to develop your espresso blend. It took me about 6 months to come up with a blend that I really enjoyed in my espresso. There are some, and that's why when I go around to there are some places I won't drink the espresso because it's not. So I'll order just a regular coffee because I know what's in there. I can order a Kenyan or Ethiopian or a Ugandan or whatever, and so I know what its basic profile is going to be like. The only thing I always tell them, use half the water that you would normally use when you make that coffee, because I like my coffee a little bit strong, almost like chewy. And so that is one of the things there is good flavor profile. It's got to have some depth to it.
Yeah. So I know there's different methods of roasting. We had a roaster from Goshen on like about a month ago.
Yeah.
And she was talking a little bit about how her style of roasting is a little bit different. I think she used an open air roaster.
Yeah.
What kind of roasting do you what kind of roaster do you use in your process?
I have a 20-year-old YB5. I've been using it so long, but it's YB5.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to ask me a question. Anyhow, well, I just don't even really think about that. I just put it in. It's a gas roaster, barrel roaster, just basic, and I run about 6 to 10 pounds at a time, which is a good amount of coffee in that roaster. Yeah. Ambex. I had to think for a second. It's an Ambex. Okay. The original parts are made in Turkey, but they're put together in Florida, down by St. Petersburg. And so it's a good roaster. It's nothing complex about it, and you just it's not hooked up to a laptop or anything. I just sit there and watch it, smell it, see what each batch is like. The thing that I have issue with on using a computer roaster is that the computer can't smell the coffee. It can't pull a test spot out, smell what the coffee beans are doing. They can't see that. It's just all electronic, and it's just measuring temperature. And when the beans hit that certain profile, then it says time to dump it. Now,
right.
And I'm sure it gives you a good consistent roast. I've never really used one that's a computer roaster because I've always had mine, and I've always had good luck with it most of the time until I set it on fire or something. So,
well, that's just an extra dark roast.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
yeah.
And it's just experience. It's part of the experience. Yeah. You got to have some rough water to make you a good sailor. Smooth water never made a skillful sailor. So
true.
One thing sorry, real quick, Josh. One thing, David, you mentioned when you were a supplier for other coffee houses for a while. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned was trying to convince coffee houses to buy a coffee that was like 10 times the normal amount per pound, like trying to convince them that it's worth the extra investment. How did you go about that? Because I can imagine that was probably a difficult conversation.
Well, it's not so difficult with coffee houses because we've come a long way in the last 20 some years. That was mostly when I first opened up the coffee house, and they're used to going into a restaurant, getting a cup of coffee for 25 cents, 50 cents. And it's, Folgers, Maxwell House. And, I'm charging twice that, 3 times that for coffee, or if you get and people here in Pierceton, Indiana, weren't quite used to that. So it was like you had to convince them. Right. But after they would start drinking it, then it wasn't a problem. It's all in the taste, and they have to have a good experience. If they don't have a good experience with it, they're not coming back. So
right. I just imagine that conversation, and then they finally try the coffee, because so my journey into coffee was a little weird. I hated coffee I mean, most people, nobody likes it when you first drink it. Like there's a reason you have to develop a taste for it.
Mhm.
It was mid-college when I actually started drinking it. Somebody made me a cup of coffee to wake me up from a nap, and I drank it black, and I was like, ugh, this is gross, but I choked it down. And then somewhere along the line, I started liking it. And then it's really only been within the past, honestly, probably since we started this podcast, maybe a little before, that I actually started noticing the differences between brands and different roasts. One of the best coffees we've had on the show, it's interesting you mentioned Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
It's a brand called Three Avocados, and they grow it. I think they're based in Nicaragua. They also have a Ugandan blend.
Mhm.
But their Nicaraguan blend is the closest coffee we've come to attend that wasn't. So a friend of ours bought, I don't know if you've ever heard of Kaya Kopi. It's
The
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 civet.
civet coffee. Yes.
Yeah, he bought us an ounce of that, and so obviously that stuff's super expensive. The Three Avocados is a little bit more. I think it's like $12 for about a 10-ounce bag, so it's a little bit more along the affordable range, and that's
Yeah.
been the best coffee we've had. That I could recommend to the average person to go purchase. But it goes back to that aftertaste you said, that smooth aftertaste, and it's like once you have an experience with that coffee, you're not going to forget it. It might take some. My family's still on the line of, man, it's $12 for a bag of coffee because they're used to buying like Starbucks coffee.
Yeah.
But once you get to that point where you're able to taste the difference, I can't stand Starbucks coffee. They make it at home, and I'm just like, nah, I'll just drink water.
Yeah. Well, there's like I said, there's places I go and I'll just like forego the coffee. I'd rather not.
Mhm.
Life's too
Yeah.
short to drink coffee. I will tell you my experience with that coffee is somebody had brought in a couple pounds and they wanted me to roast it. Now I will tell you that coffee in its raw green state that he brought me smelled like animal droppings. And when I put it in the roaster, here's my roastery. It smelled like a chicken shed.
Oh
And,
no.
and after we roasted it, cooled it, we brewed it up, and it had that aftertaste now of manure in the coffee. So that's one of my experience. Now, in retrospect, I would say this, that here it is, we drank it young. We drank it right out of the roaster. Coffee, when it's roasted for 24 to 72 hours, is giving off gases. It's giving off CO2. That's hence the little button on the bags. That's a degassing valve. That's to let the pressure off the bag. I suspect that if we had probably let that coffee set for 3 days, then drank it, we would have had a totally different experience. One of the things that people talk about, and there again, this is my opinion on this coffee, this type of coffee, whether it's the fruit bats in Brazil, the civets in Indonesia. What it is, you have to think about when you look at a cherry tree, which is very similar to a coffee tree. Here's the birds in the top of the tree, and they're eating the cherries off there. Here is the civets or the fruit bats or whatever. They can get in there and they get the fruit at its prime. They're not going to drink any, or they're not going to eat any green cherries. They're not going to eat the rotten cherries. They're going to pick the cherry at its absolute very best. So what happens is they are digesting the very best of the cherries, and it just passes through their system because they can't digest that cherry seed itself.
Right.
So when there used to be in Brazil, that coffee was always saved for the plantation owners when they would go clean the bat caves and apparently to use for the fertilizer to fertilize the fruit trees. And they would find the coffee seeds that was never exported. That was always saved for the people that owned the plantation. So in hearing about that, it makes sense that that's probably what may have been going on, and that's why that coffee they always considered it so good, is because the civets or the fruit bats, they were picking the very best of the cherries. Now, did it change when it went through the enzymes in their stomach? Could be. So I don't know.
So it could just be that they just selected the best cherries, or it could be the digestive process.
Yeah, if and say like the plantation in Kauai, they have about 4,000 acres there, and they sort almost virtually every bean to pick out the very best. And I will say the Kauai Extra Prime, if you can get it, the straight Kauai Extra Prime is a really, really good coffee. One of the things that any coffee that is a blend, whether it's Hawaii, Jamaican Blue Mountain, if it's a blend, that's only 10% of that coffee. The other 90% could be anything else they want to put in there. So that's one of those things about blends, just as an aside. So
well, that's good to know. Well, hey, thank you so much for hopping on and for discussing all of this.
Hey, I'm
it's
not
a lot
done
of knowledge.
Yet. I'm not done. No. We really
definitely
just kind of it's been interesting, and I do appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll definitely have to have you on again, like to get more in depth and really dive deeper into the whole process and just the differences in coffees and everything. Because it's you feel like such a well of knowledge about this stuff. Especially for people like me and Wes just getting into the tasting. So, but thank you so much for being willing to hop on and do this. Do you have a website or anything where people could go to buy coffee
Well,
from you?
I have a web. You can't really off the website, but it's Blue Lion Coffee. And if somebody wants to get in touch with me about coffee, they can text me to my number. They can email me. They can email me at bluelioncoffee at the letter K, the letter C, ONLINE.com. It's bluelioncoffee at kconline.com. I can send them a list of coffees, and I will send you guys next time we do this. I'll send you a couple samples of things you can brew up, so we can be drinking those at the same time, and you can see some of the differences in those coffees there.
Sounds good.
One real quick aside is I tend to like acidic coffees myself. You were asking why. I tend to like acidic coffees because acidic coffees tend to have more flavor. If you get into some of the Indonesian coffees, which are not as acidic, but they have really good body to them, they have some really good flavor. Some of the very best coffees I've had have been Indonesian coffees. Make wonderful espressos. But it's the acidic coffees that throw the flavor into those profiles. So I do mostly blends. So I have some bases of Indonesians, but I put some of the African, South and Central American coffees in there to throw other aspects of the taste profiles in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'll definitely have to be on the lookout for that next time we try some coffee. Maybe next week I can look specifically for something like that. So again, thank you so much. It really, really was awesome to talk to you and have you on. I know our listeners liked it, and so we'll definitely have to have you back. So thank you so much, David.
Sure. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, David.
You too.
Every time we have somebody who actually does this for a living, I feel like such a little kid.
Oh, I know. It's like I don't know enough. Like but that's the thing when people have done it for, so long and really been able to hone it in, it really is cool to pick their brain and see what coffees they've enjoyed, what coffees they like, the mistakes that they've made, the progress that they've made, and to, just the differences in style. Coffee is so much more than I ever would have thought, forever ago. I mean, I started drinking coffee when I was 10, with my grandma. Hated it, but she gave me coffee, so I drank it, and so it was definitely really cool to pick his brain and just really find more out about that. Yeah, no, I totally agree, Daniel, and it's he's awesome and everything he knows and just the knowledge that comes with it. So well, let's keep with the coffee theme. Roast of the week. let's hop
Sorry,
right on into that.
we're running a little bit long, but yeah, let's get into it. All
Well,
right.
we'll do the roast of the week, and if we skip to the last two things, I mean, it's not a big deal. We can always hit those next week.
That's
So
true. All right, so roast of the week. This is PCGamer.com. Jorge, oh my, Jimenez. I think that's a Hispanic last name. I'm gonna feel terrible if it's not. Japanese company calls its gaming bed setup the quote forbidden layout unquote. The motorized gaming bed comes from the company that brought you the desk tent. So this is a Japanese company that has made a gaming bed. It's basically a hospital bed that is for gaming. Here's the article. Japanese gaming furniture company Baohut wants you to eat, breathe, and eventually sleep video games, which is with its electric gaming bed spotted by Gizmodo, which is, according to the company, quote, a forbidden layout for such self-degrading gamers, unquote. The electric gaming bed is just part of Baohut's furniture ecosystem dubbed the, quote, ultimate gaming space, unquote, which includes a motorized bed, a desk with a place to mount your monitors overhead, a mini fridge, clothes rack, and even a floating arm for your tablet in case you need more screen in your face. You know, everything a, quote, self-degrading, unquote, gamer needs. Last year, we covered Baohut's other gaming bed setup and thought to ourselves, quote, well, there's no topping this. Then they went ahead and added motors and ample storage for what appears to be a product called Gaming Noodles. The BGB 100FA electric bed is adjusted by two motors that change the position of your back, legs, and feet. If you've ever seen a hospital bed or those beds advertised on TV super late at night, you'll know what it is. The bed fits neatly under the BHD 1200 BD bed desk so that when you wake up, you can raise the bed to a seated position and get to work or gaming without having to get up. I don't know how to feel about this. This feels like
does it come with a toilet?
I don't think it comes with a toilet.
Diapers. That's what diapers are for.
Yes, that's what diapers are for. No, seriously, the pictures of this thing is insane. Like this is this whole setup. And this feels like we're edging ever closer to WALL-E. Like WALL-E started out as like, oh yeah, nobody would ever be like that. Well, it might be.
Just never have to get up. Just always get to lay there, eat some Lay's chips, drink some coffee, play some video games. Sounds like something we need on the show.
No.
No,
feels
yeah.
Okay. Also, I would like to point out that I'm reading further into the article. It says it's easy to dismiss Baohut's gaming bed. I wouldn't blame you. It has a bed layout on the website just called Anime and describes the origin story of the bed as, quote, supreme corrupted life with bed as a base for living.
Okay.
So I have no idea what this company is getting at, but I can't tell if they're geniuses at advertising or they suck at it.
Well, it got us to talk about it. I mean,
it did. But if you're buying a bed that is dedicated to making it so that you can game right from when you wake up, you might have issues. And I'm going to roast Baohut for making it possible for people to live their lives in this unhealthy manner. Because no.
Is it unhealthy or is it just...
Yes.
I mean,
you need to get out of bed.
But some days you just don't feel like it.
I know COVID got us all feeling like we can just spend the entire day staring at a screen because that's kind of what we did for a while. But you do, like, people still got up and exercised. Like,
did we?
I mean, maybe. I didn't. No, I'm kidding.
No, I totally.
I try to now.
It's a lot. It was definitely. I saw the pictures. I mean, it'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. It'd be cool. But it's definitely not something for a man that has a job or that's married or like Daniel said, you'd have to be a no life with no relationship or have anything like that.
So the stupid thing about stuff like this is it looks really, really cool, and then I think you could buy it, and then within 3 months you'd be used to it and it wouldn't be cool anymore. It would just be a thing that you have.
Oh yeah, just like those scorpion chairs where you get in it and it like sits you up and everything like comes up in front of you. Have you seen those?
No.
Like everything's behind you.
Scorpion?
So you sit in the chair like this and the tail of the chair wraps up in front of you and drops the
that's creepy.
screens down.
Oh, I hate this. That is the evilest looking thing I've ever seen.
It looks like
It's
a
also $4,000.
yeah.
What the heck? Oh, I hate this.
So, you
Oh.
know.
Ah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool that it like makes everything. I'm sorry. I'm reading the 1-star reviews on Amazon for this scorpion chair. The first one is, this chair is not even worth of $400 and $4,000 is way too expensive. Good luck selling for that price. This other person just called it disgusting.
I mean, I want
So
one. I do. I think it'd be cool. You know, it'd be like pretty sweet to have a cool chair that like flips up like that. Just...
I mean, it
But
would make you feel like a supervillain.
dude,
there's
you would. You'd be
that.
like, you'd be,
It
I
looks
think
like a
is
supervillain
he?
chair.
He's off this. I think he's off the Spaceballs movie where he's like, huh.
No, that's Austin Powers, Dr. Evil.
Oh, yep.
Is it
Austin
Dr.
Powers, you're
Evil?
right. I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Evil. Yeah. I don't know
Yes,
why
it's
I was thinking
Dr. Evil.
Spaceballs. Yep.
Well, I
You're
mean,
right.
space Austin Powers is to James Bond what Spaceballs is to Star Wars. Like, it's a parody, so
Right.
it makes sense.
Right. But well, I mean, we really went a long time on the coffee, so I kind of hate to cut off the game and stuff, but honestly, I really enjoyed having that entire conversation we had.
Well, I think it's okay because most of the time we spend most of our time on gaming stuff. So every once in a while, it's nice to be like, hey, yeah, this is also a coffee podcast.
Right. And to really dive deep and have him back on in a few weeks, or, you know, to really go back into it would be amazing. And let him just kind of, you know, no holds bars, like just go for it, you know, like just release him and let him go. Cause I mean, like you said, you could talk for hours about it. Like, and honestly, I could have listened to a lot more about coffee.
Yeah, it was really intriguing.
It was definitely a lot of fun. So, again, thank you all for tuning in and just like learning more about coffee and kind of everything that has to do. We're all learning this together. And if you guys have any ideas on coffee you want us to try, definitely let us know. Hit us up in the comments, you know, message us, whatever you guys got to do to get it over and let us know. We'd love to try it. Like I said, this week's just been crazy. That's why I went back to a can, but I'm glad I did because
Yeah, it's
canned
actually
coffee
pretty good.
I really like it. So anyway, thank you guys again, everyone, for tuning in, listening, watching the show. Really, really do appreciate it. All your support. It means so much. So thank you guys, and play lots of games, drink lots of coffee, and we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you next week.